Welcome to Mendezville Live, where it's something to talk about. Here is Rudy Mendez. What's going on, Mendezville Live? We got a good show for you today. It's going to be interesting. Parents, athletes, you got to listen to this guy, one of my best buddies over when I was in Los Angeles, California. So it's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. Today's episode is brought to you by World Finance. When life throws unexpected expenses your way, World Finance is here to help. Whether it's medical bills, car repairs, or child care expenses, a personal installment or title loan can help you take control and get back to the good things in life. Even if you have a low credit score or no credit score, they will help you get the money you need. Get started by applying today at their Mission location at 1600 North Conway, Suite A, Mission, Texas. They can take applications by phone at 956-580-4533. Once again, 956-580-4533. Or you can visit their website at loansbyworld.com. They are accepting applications with matriculas, passport, or ITIN. You do not need to have a social to apply. All loans are subject to their usual credit underwriting policies. I'll tell you what, you need a loan, you go with these guys, man. They make you get some great deals. You got to check them out. All right. Today, soccer is in the house. We're going to be talking soccer, and I got to pick this guy's brain. My best buddy, my pal from Loyola Marymount University. He is currently an assistant coach at Cal State LA, ranked second in the nation, D2. My man, Michael ERush. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, Rudy? Thanks for having me on, man. Looking forward to a great show.
I'm excited to pick your brain. I'm excited to inform the people of soccer, what kids need to get to that level. My brother has two boys. I have a son. We're like, our dream is they're gonna play for the USA, right? And of course, like I was telling you earlier, is we have a lot of kids in the area that they're really good at soccer. So we want to pick your brain. So what's going on over there at Cal State, man? What do you do? What do you do? What's your resume, man? Since I left back in 2007 or so.
Whatever, yeah. It's time flies. No, I mean, again, Cal State LA. Obviously, I'm in my third year. We worked together at LMU for about a couple years, and then I worked there for many years 10 years after you left.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And then came to Cal State LA 3 years ago. Lost in the national championship game last year.
Nice.
Went undefeated. So things are going well. It's a little different life right now at the moment with all the uncertainty and everything. We're all school's online. We're working from home. We're recruiting from home. We're watching videos. That's obviously my full-time job. And then obviously living in LA is very expensive. So in the evenings, I coach kids. I coach 13-year-olds, and I have a team of 15-year-olds. And I'm also the director of the club out in Santa Monica, California, called LA Breakers. So I got a lot in soccer and more soccer to talk about, and love to kind of let kids and parents know what else is out there, man, because there's so much out there. Kids just need to know and have the knowledge and understanding of what it takes to play at the next level.
For sure, bro, for sure. So what kind of so when you were at LMU, you were there how long were you at LMU?
So I went undergrad. I played at LMU. I was the captain for I played at LMU, was the captain for 2 years, and then played professional soccer for about 4 years, and then went back to school to get my master's degree in 2007, and then coached there for 10 years, and then moved to Cal State LA. So
nice.
Good opportunity to play 4 years professionally in 4 or 5 different countries. Played for Chivas, played for Rapids here, and then played in Miami, and then I went to Israel, I went to Hungary, I went to Moldova. So I lived out of my bags for a couple of years. It was just a great experience, and wouldn't miss it, an opportunity like that, to travel around the world and play professional soccer.
Well, Mike, so when our ERush, I guess we'll call you ERush. So what how did you end up playing? Like, you played MLS, and did you play for a different country, Israel, or what?
No, so what I was when I was younger through high school, I was on the U.S. youth national team growing up. Yeah, so then I went to LMU. Then I went from didn't get drafted, tried out for Chivas, Colorado first, then went to Chivas, and in between I went to different countries to try out and have trials in different countries. So it was, like I said, it was an international experience that I loved, that I would never regret, and I'd love to do it again one day. On the coaching side, I played.
you were trying to make the team in their professional
No,
soccer.
so I was on the youth national team, and then on the senior national team. Obviously, that's a long ways to go. Pardon me, my
Oh,
kids right here in the
no,
mirror.
dude, don't worry.
Um,
Mine come in
it's
here. Mine come in here all the
it's
time.
bedtime, and she's battling bedtime, so I apologize.
Hey, tell her
7:10.
she's got to go to bed. Hey, it's a
I
family
know.
oriented.
Yeah, there she
Mira,
goes. Bye.
there she is. Say good night.
Uh,
Mine battle it
how
out
old are
too.
yours?
Don't worry about it.
How old are yours?
Mine, my oldest is 6, so she understands. She already knows. Hey, she goes to bed. Then I got Levi Nueve Mendez. He got named after this guy right here.
That said, when you were away, I love that photo. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was my idol after high school basketball. I became a big, soccer aficionado, and my fraternity and in the sports I played, I wore number 9 because this guy was the guy. This guy was the guy. So some of my really close friends, gave me the nickname Nueve, and when my son was gonna be born, I didn't want to name him after me. I said no, I'm not a big fan of the juniors, and I figured out a way to name him after me either way. And
That's awesome.
I told my wife I want his first name to be Nueve, and she was like, she thought I was joking. And about a week before he was born, I'm like, yeah, Nueve is gonna be born. He's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? That's gonna be his first name. She goes,
That's
no, that's not
amazing.
gonna be his first name. Either way, his middle name's Nueve, and then my he's about to turn 5 tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow's his birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
and the little girl is she's 3. So
Good.
I have 3. How about you?
Just one, 2 years old, and handful.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
2
yeah.
years
They are.
old. No, so
So
I apologize for that. So back to the story. I mean, again, I was just traveling, playing in their like Premier League, like the Moldovan Premier League, the Israeli Premier League.
there
So
you
I was
go.
playing in different countries in their league, and then
Nice.
finished off with an opportunity in Miami. So, wasn't again for the kids that are listening. Again, I wasn't the most athletic. For me, I was my work rate and my knowledge of the game. Kind of, I call it the soccer IQ. Is
Hmm.
very important. I look at the kid's soccer IQ before all his athletic ability. Different coaches look at different things. So as long as you understand and have a high soccer IQ, good things can happen. That's very important. Like I said, I wasn't the most athletic and I wasn't the fittest, but even though I worked really hard to try to get fit and play at the elite level, I couldn't do it physically and I didn't have the genetics, but I gave it all. And, I was thankful for that opportunity at least.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I remember when we were at LMU and I started picking your brain back in the day. You told me no one can take the ball away from me when I have it, and yet I can take the ball away from a lot of younger guys that are quicker than me on the team. How does that work?
It's just about reading the angle and understanding, kind of anticipate. I call it anticipating the next move. If a kid's right-footed, if I know I'm going against a forward that's right-footed, maybe I put him on his left foot to know that he's a little bit weaker on that side. So you cut off the chances of him maybe dribbling. I was a defender, so I talk a lot of defensive kind of mentality. But attacking mentality is, can I go both sides? So it just depends. If you're an attacking player, you want to be versatile to go to your right, to your left, to shoot with your right and left, to cross with your right and left. If you're defending, you want to make it predictable and make it hard, and obviously make less mistakes as a defender.
For sure. I see that, and I think about those things when I'm coaching basketball because that's a sport that I played a lot in high school. And I always tell the guys, you gotta evaluate your opponent. Like, what are his strengths? What are your strengths? What are your strengths to make him weaker? And stuff that you just mentioned.
By the way, I didn't like playing against you in basketball because you're so quick. And I couldn't,
Back-
you're
we didn't- we
little, you're like a little road runner, like in out, and I couldn't catch up to you.
didn't- back in the day,
Back in the day.
they're at the rec. It was good times there at the rec.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yep.
I'll tell you. There's this one thing that's been bugging me for about almost a year. And see, here in the area, we have some, like I said, we have, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. The culture of soccer in the district that I work in, right? We have 2 really good soccer programs. And one, there's 2 schools of thought. Is that in the fall, because soccer over here in Texas, they start about January, February, they start the season, right? And some people, like some coaches in the area, even one of my former coaches, he mentioned one time, man, if I was a soccer coach, I would put all my soccer guys in cross country because he's a cross country guy, right? So he goes, I would put all my guys in cross country so they could run miles and miles. Me personally, understanding the speed and the strength. I'm thinking I'd rather not do that. I'd rather focus on in the fall, those 2 months before or 3 months before we start. I need them to get quicker, faster, and stronger. I need them in the weight room more than I need them running miles. From your experience in those two schools of thought, where am I? What am I off? Am I on? Or what
I
adjustments do we
think,
need to make?
I mean, that's a great question. What age? You're talking about high school kids,
Yeah,
junior
we're talking
high?
about 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Okay. So I always say, believe it or not, in my opinion, and like I said, everyone has their own opinion.
Right.
Weights is secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Weights. Lifting is secondary. They're going to get enough lifting in their college programs, no matter what level it is. JC, NCAA, NAIA, it doesn't matter what level. So they're going to get their lifting and their strength training in the high school levels. And then you're talking about two extremes. You're talking about cross country, and then you're talking about lifting. So I'm going to, again, two different extremes. I don't think you need to do cross country running, because cross country is most of the time one tempo for a long time. Okay. If you can do it intermediately, like run a mile, jog a mile, and do different increments, and do like 200 meters, walk 200 meters, that's more soccer aerobics.
Right.
So in regards to the fitness plan, it's about doing something and then stopping, because soccer is start, stop, start, stop.
Right.
So it's reactions. So I don't really think it's cross country, but like our fitness test, for example, like Cal State LA, and when I was at LMU, was a 2 mile test. 2 mile, it's called a Cooper test, 2 miles under 12 minutes. I know college programs do 2 miles under 12 minutes, then you rest for 6 minutes, and then you do another 6 minute mile. So you're talking about, that's a different kind of mentality of cross country. You're doing 2 miles under 12, which is really hard. Then you rest for 6, and then you have to do a mile under 6 minutes. So that's what I would say is the elite fitness for soccer. In regards to strength conditioning, I always think you're always going to get that. There's some high school programs that do it, but I want to make sure that the kids are fit, like you said, and the strength's going to come later in their careers. Because if they're doing I coach high school kids, 13, 15-year-olds, different age groups. I'm running a club as well. I mean, the basics of sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, body weights. During these days right now, gyms aren't open. I mean, we're in LA, and it's pretty tough to find anything. So it's a lot of weights, body weights, indoor, in your garage, in your front yard, anywhere you can find a patch of grass that's safe to do things. So it's the commitment of, on the running side, is to do short, long, long, short, but not one tempo. And then on the lifting, can you do body weights? Can you do squats? Can you do, be creative with the workouts? Obviously, with social media these days, there's so much content out there, but it's just the most important thing. It's about doing the right way. You don't want to get hurt. I'm a big believer. If you warm up correctly, you do your fitness, and you're strong enough, you won't get hurt. But then if you don't warm up correctly and you're not fit, that's when you're going to injure yourself with muscles and other injuries. So you don't want to do that. That puts you, behind.
Right. And I think that's a great comment. I agree 100% with you in the sense of it sounds like you got to have that balance. Like, you don't want to just train cross country the whole time. And at the same time, it's interesting you mentioned weights, because I got this one kid I was talking to about what they call him Mosul, but I got to get him on the show too. He got shredded. I mean, he got just bulked. He got yoked. And my biggest concern when the transformation he had in about a year, he's playing soccer at, I don't know what Chuco College it is over up in northern Texas, West Texas, something like that, is my concern with him was, and I asked him, I said, "Hey Mosul, have you noticed that your speed has gone? Have you?" And he goes, "No, coach. If anything, I got faster. Like, yeah, I'm bigger. My biceps are bigger. My chest. I mean, he's just bigger. Like, and he's one of those guys that has high IQ. But he just got stronger and faster. He goes, now I can body up, because he's about 5'6". But he told me, he goes,
It's funny. I'm laughing because I have a kid, because I just finished coaching a group of seniors that are going to college. And I had a forward, they call him Kun. His name was Kun Aguero. Like, he looked like small and strong on Manchester City. So I'm like, Kun, you're lifting too much. You're going to go play college, He's like, oh, no worry, I got it. Like, he thinks, again, players think that because they get mass and they get stronger, they don't necessarily sometimes slow down, but they don't gain speed. So it's all strength. And I said, hey, listen, you're lifting too much. And then I just heard from him last week. He's going to go play in college, and he worked. I had a job, and he got more set lifting done than he played soccer. So I think it's a balance of between, because I laugh at this because, I could do 1,000 push-ups and get swole up here. But what happens to my lower body? I'm not doing much.
Right.
So I think, again, and when you talk about running and when you talk about strength, it's about balance, and that's really important.
No doubt. Where was it? The very first time I heard the phrase, and I always have trouble memorizing it. I gotta read up on it. Was when Lance Armstrong was talking about how cyclists and even I think it was a basketball somewhere I read it in a basketball book is where you don't have to be that heavy up top, but you want your legs to be strong because of the weight max to index or whatever ratio is.
Yeah.
You can run faster and jump higher. And the cyclist was well, you can pedal but you got to be light so you could be faster on the bike.
Yep. No, that
So
was I watched that episode.
yeah,
Netflix or Amazon. It was a good
yeah,
episode.
whatever
If
it
you
is.
didn't
Remember
watch it,
that?
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about?
yep.
Yeah, man.
No, I think it's important. I mean, like it said, it goes back to the balance part because again, if your lower body is way stronger than your upper body, then something's going to give, and vice versa. So I think it's important to equal it out as well. Even both. Like if I'm doing, curls on my right arm and nothing on my left, what's going to happen? Same thing. Same thing with the upper and lower body.
Yeah. No, I think this guy that I want to talk about, he's pretty balanced. But like I said, he didn't lose speed, but he kept training though. He was lifting while he was at the university, while he was playing soccer every day. So that's a little bit different than the story you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So as a coach in the and I'm interested in the club, sure, because here let me give you a backstory, two backstories, and then I want you to comment on this so you can educate us a little bit. One is I started my own Mendez sports training. And basically, I train 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds. That's my niche. Even though for my career, I train 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds to get faster, quicker, and stronger. So I know both, right? And the reason I did the young kids is because that's where my son is. That's where my 2 daughters are. So I'm training them. And then in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have my Mendez sports training, but then I'm going to have to get a club team. Because I want to make sure that my kid travels. I'm going to have to start going to San Antonio, Houston, Austin, Dallas, where the club scene is very big. How big is it from a coach's standpoint? How often do you recruit in club showcase tournaments? And what are your experiences, you as a club manager?
So, I mean, that's an interesting question because, again, you're talking about college recruiting on the first part of the question, right? So, again, us as college coaches, we want to go see high level games. We do most of I would say 90% of our scouting is done at showcase events, at tournaments. Here in California, soccer is a little bit different at the high school level. So as a club director, that's what obviously I mentioned, we're on a call tonight later on, is we're trying to decide how do we put our kids to get the college exposure right now with everything that's going on in the world. We're trying to think outside the box, and we're going to travel, like you said, go to places where they're allowed to play. From my understanding, Rudy, tell me, Texas, everyone's playing, right, with contact and everything, correct?
Yeah, not everyone, but there is football already opened up. I know here in the I guess it's kind of hard because there's the extreme of no one's playing, or certain parents aren't playing, or certain schools, and then there's high schools that are playing. There's club teams that are playing. There's rec leagues that are playing. So it's one of those things that yes and no. You know what I mean? It just depends.
Yeah. So
but there's playing going on.
Yeah. For us, we're in phase 1. We're in social distance training right now at the club level. Yeah, at the club level. And I know UCLA and different programs around here are doing social distance training too at the elite collegiate level. So now as a director, we're looking at how do we get exposure for our kids. So we might be going to Arizona because Arizona's contact. So we're going to drive 4 or 5 hours, not get on a plane, and go get games, record the games, and try to get some footage where the kids can make a highlight tape for the college coaches. So what I always say right now during these times is making sure that even an iPhone, obviously it's hard to record an iPhone in a soccer game, but like a legitimate camera where you can get film done, like at the high school football, high school soccer games, you guys mostly use the high school football stadiums. So you can get a camera angled where you could see most of the field. And I think that's important because recruiting now is a lot of virtual stuff. We're not out in, we rarely go out of state for example, our school. But when I was at LMU, we go to Texas, twice a year for events to see kids. So I think that's important to understand is that on the club level, you're trying to think here in LA, how we can get our kids to be seen. And it's got to be a high level, because if you're going to videotape a game where you're winning 6-0, that's not valuable for a college coach to watch a game tape of 6-0. You want to make sure it's a game of like 0-0 or a tight game to see the creativity of a player. And, and on the college coaching side, we want to see the best game possible. So that's on the club and obviously the college game. Does that answer it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, no, absolutely, because and we're all at there's a dilemma that me and my brother and the little soccer circle that I have is, for example, we want USA Soccer to be really good, right? We're like, oh man, we
Of
you
course.
know, and you know, it's getting there. You know, the Pulisic and the Reina, and you know, we got another 2, 3 kids in Europe. But we see sometimes that in our area we're kind of but it's getting better. Where there some socioeconomic kids that are really darn good at soccer don't have the means to be seen at these showcases. So are we talking about that the trend is now high school is really not somewhere where college coaches look? It's more of like the showcases and the club tournaments?
It's state by state, I would say. LA, I don't know, the Development Academy folded. Now there's one league. Now the MLS is starting another league. So in regards to like top collegiate programs, I would say mostly showcases and high level club games. High school is maybe kind of secondary, but it also depends, like I said, state to state, but it also depends on the college coaches. For example, I'll go to high school games. Some schools won't go to high school games. So it depends school by school, state by state on where they're looking to find that, I call a player in the diamond in the rough. Right. We're trying to, we at our school, we're trying to pick up every rock and see, is there a kid out there late in the recruiting process, and instance like high school, in the middle of nowhere, or we get some footage, or we know someone or someone's an alum and says, hey, you got to go check out this player here because he's not getting seen. Well, guess what? We'll get in a car or on a plane whenever it's, and go watch the kid play high school or wherever he's playing. We'll go to training.
Yeah.
That's important too. Like college coaches, if you can set that up with a director or a manager to say, hey, listen, we got some good kids here. We'll set up a scrimmage, an inter squad with our club or our high school, two local teams. Come watch us play. I go to high school showcases every time. In December, there's a lot of high school showcases here in Southern California. I go to about 2 to 3 high school showcases in December. So it's also time, so
December.
Yeah, tell me about it. So we can go to those events because club soccer kind of takes us break after Thanksgiving. So there's a period where college coaches can go watch some showcases in the community.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's where I was leading is where can these guys, or I was going to ask you, well, how do you know which high schools or what high school games to go watch? And I'm assuming people tell you. It's like me saying, hey, ERush, I need you to check out this kid from this, college, JUCO. He needs to transfer, whatever. Like I told you.
Look, there's obviously, high school coaches can reach out to college coaches directly anytime. There's also a website called Field Level, I believe, fieldlevel.com, where high school coaches can register. I think it's free, and they can contact any college coach. It's a good resource because we get emails daily and saying, hey, I got a player here in, blank high school. Come take a look, maybe throw in a video. But there are websites that can help with promoting the high schools, the club teams that don't have the means of getting to bigger areas too. So It's just about finding those websites and those contacts to, if no one's going to take a lead, it's going to be hard for coaches to know, okay, how am I going to go to your school and know that there's a player if no one reached out to me as well, and if it's a high school in whatever division.
Right.
So I'm not saying high school soccer is not good, because I think there's every opportunity and kids deserve an opportunity to play. Some kids can't afford club soccer or travel soccer. So the only way is high school soccer or men's league. So that's really important because, and I know there's a town, I don't know if you heard of Watsonville, California. It's a big farm town in Northern California, a lot of gangs. And we found a kid at LMU from Watsonville that got his degree. He was the first one, Hispanic family that graduated from college, 4 years, and his brother, got shot in a drive-by. So we want to find kids that we can help out in the community as well. It's not like we're only going to go watch club or showcases, but I think there's value in high school and kind of underprivileged communities as well. There's obviously opportunity there.
No doubt about that, man. No doubt about that. It's funny you mentioned that because when I had UTSA makes a round down here, and I'm an alumni, so I always try to make it out. And the director of recruiting was here, and I said, "Hey, coach, I'm a junior high coach, and most of my athletes are already in high school. What do I tell them to be seen or how to get seen by you guys or any other college?" And he told me, "Just get a highlight film and put it on YouTube. Just get a high. Is that a possibility with you guys? That
Of
avenue?"
course, I get that. I mean, we get about 100 emails a day, but absolutely, it's free, it's effective, it's easy. The
Yeah.
more important is getting the footage.
Right. Yeah.
There's different means to obviously get it out there to share it. YouTube is free. You want to make it cost effective for all the kids because there's services that charge a lot. Um,
Mm.
but I think it's important to call it a highlight tape. I do that right now. I'm a director of a club, and about twice or three times a day, I'll meet with parents and student athletes to go over their highlight tape because I have the college experience where I
Mm.
can think about what do college coaches need to see. And I'm also the director of my club, so I can let them know on both sides. Okay, put this in because the college coach likes this. Your first touch, in soccer terms, your passing over distance is better in this clip than this clip.
Mm.
So I think again, more of a specific soccer coach with knowledge of the game can provide more content than just any other coach. They'll say, "Oh, that was a good pass," but there's more to it. What did he
Right.
do after the pass?
Yeah.
How was the pace of the pass? How far was the pass? Was it
Yeah.
front foot, back foot? So it's all these little details that go into making a highlight tape. And I would say no more than 5 to 6 minutes, of good content could be seen.
Nice. And see, I'm glad you see because and I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's why I wanted you on the show because when you talk about, oh, that's a good pass. Well, you see, but why was it a good pass? Like you just said, like different aspects of the game, and not just, oh, it got there. Well, yeah. Well, what did he use and the strengths and stuff like that. So I'm hoping parents in the dude. I'm telling you, I got a lot of parents in the area there. I mean, we got what? We got Bronzeville, which is by South Padre Island. Huge soccer. Then we got the Mackay area, very big in women's soccer. Sharyland's okay. Juarez Lincoln, La Jolla, they're juggernauts. We got some other schools in the area, so hopefully they're listening to this. And so, what are the things you, as a club director, for example, what makes your club a success, or what does it take? I guess at this point is try to guide some of these clubs because we get a lot of they start a club and then they fade. They start a club and then they fade. So, what kind of advice do you give a club director to be successful? How much do you charge? Different things. What do you go through
Well,
there?
I mean, that's probably the biggest concern in an issue with obviously LA being a director. We charge. I mean, it's a significant amount of money. We got to pay fields. We got to pay coaches. We got to do a lot of different things to run a club. But for me, the most important thing is the development of the player. So it's about kind of the training environment, how the coaches are providing training. Right now I'm not. It's a different time now, but in a
Right, because
normal
of COVID.
day, during normal circumstances, are they getting challenged? Are they getting better? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? And how do you produce players? Again, my personal goal for each team or each player I coach is I want to make sure that they grow up to be good student athletes academically, and I also want them to develop into kids at the next level. So, what does it take to coach the kids at the next level? Well, being a college coach, I coach them the way I would coach my college kids. That's on a coaching level. On a director's level, it's about excuse me, it's about getting them in the environment where they're enjoying it. Again, I think Rudy, in the junior high and even the younger ages, I want to see kids fall in love with the sport.
Right.
I know Houston Dynamo, the director there is doing a great job with I think they call it at home training or something. They're starting at like the 4, 5, 6 year olds where they want to see kids virtually doing stuff at home. But again, once you get to like 14, 15, 16, it's almost too late, but there's still a small time period where they can excel and get better. But they first fall in love with the sport, get better in increments of age, and then have your coaches challenge your kids at practice in an environment where they're getting better through the challenges, and put them into uncomfortable situations, put them into comfortable situations. But the most important thing is how they're managing the players. That's for the coaches out there. Are they managing the players where they feel confident, where they're positive? I was training a group of kids this morning, and there was a parent running, some of his kids and his friends, and I really felt bad. I mean, it was so derogatory and like aggressive, and poor kids were like, man, they were doing great, and I had to come, you know, one of my kids knocked the ball in their area. I just told the kids, hey, good job, keep working hard, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just a different voice, because the more negativity, the more demand, kids will start saying, maybe it's not for me, and they won't fall in love with the sport.
Right.
So I'll be the first one to admit, you knew me 10 years, 13 years ago. I was very negative. I was loud. I was vocal. Now I'm loud and vocal, but in different ways, because I want the best for the kids, and that's important. That's what people got to understand is the more you could be a positive, demanding coach than negative, because that was probably me at my beginning days. Is I did too much negativity, and the kids were like, "Man, you're not. I don't trust you. I don't like you. You know, because you've got to be a little more positive. You got to be a little more patient with the process now, because it's a different time."
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because I came back to my hometown. You know, I went to Indiana State. I was there at LMU. I go back to UTSA, and I decided. I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and coach. My first year or two, I wasn't so much negative, but the expectations were so high, coming from a collegiate standpoint, hanging out with B-Roll, Ciara, and my friends from Indiana, and it was just college. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, now you're in junior high. So I had to take a step back. And then with reffing, I was, I officiated when I got home. I started officiating basketball games, and I just be in the back of my mind like, man, this coach is terrible, bro. Like, what are you talking about? That was a great try, and you're over here demeaning the kid. But that, and you know what I learned? One of the best phrases from soccer was "good idea." Like, whether it works or not, hey, that was a great idea. Hey, good idea, or a good shot, or whatever, And one of the biggest things I told my players in basketball is, if you're open, take the shot. Just take the shot. Have fun with it.
Or you could say good try. I tell this now to my kids weekly, to my 13-year-olds, is make mistakes. Make mistakes. Lose a game and learn from it. Why you lost. There's so many different ways. Yes, winning is important for us. Our jobs sometimes are on the line at the collegiate level to win games, right? At the club game, we get evaluated by our board, by our presidents, to win games. But then in the day, I think developing a player with the coach's positive mentality goes a long, long way for now and the future.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Especially in that junior high, freshman, sophomore level. Just have fun with it, and they're learning.
You want them to make mistakes. It's like, good try, but can you do this? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just trust the process. They're gonna learn from it, man. And it's interesting like that. So Mike, let's see, you do the club, you perform what when it comes to touch on grades, man, because here's the backstory. Hold on, before you go there, here's go ahead. You know what,
we probably should have started the show on grades.
Go for it. And I'll give you my point of view on that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So very simple. I was just on a call today with a group of parents, and I said, the better the grades are, the better the test scores, the more opportunity. The less the grades are, the worse the grades are, the less chances the doors start closing. So that's kind of that's my motto, is to tell the kids, listen, you've got to try to your best. If you gotta be, okay, that's fine. Can you do a little better in other classes? Can you balance it out? Now, GPAs are important, so that's on the academic side. Now, look, sometimes academics is not for some kids, and that's no problem. But there's also opportunity. For example, we have, and you guys have an unbelievable state for junior college, probably one of the best. I think it's you guys, Arizona, California, and Florida and New York, upstate New York. But I just believe that if the doors are closing, don't quit, don't stop, because I believe there's an opportunity for every single kid if they want it. If they don't make it academically, but they want it in soccer, you go to a junior college. If you have the academics and you want it really bad on the collegiate level, you will have a college opportunity. I really do believe in that. But you have to trust in yourselves and go through the process and have mentors. We haven't talked about that. Having a mentor that can guide you, people like you, to guide them into the next step. You go from junior high school to high school. What about high school to college? So they have to have different guidance counselors or mentors to help in the process. But academics is very, very one of the most important, and we use this term as well. If we want to talk about terms, is you're a student first and athlete second. You're called student athlete. At high school and college, at any level, you're a student athlete. So the grade part is very important.
So I'm sure some of my athletes, from those two schools that and some of the coaches will watch this episode because it's soccer. How I know, we know it's important. How do you approach that in the grades aspect? Like, I know you talked about it. You want to get.
That's a great question. That's a great question.
What is your approach?
So my approach is, believe it or not, as a club director, because again, we're talking on the youth side,
right?
Is once or twice a semester, I will dedicate a practice where the kids will go play, street ball or 5-on-5, 6-on-6, and I'll let them do that at practice. And I will have meetings with kids, depending on age. If they're like older and they're in high school, I'll only meet with the high school kid. If they're younger in the junior high, I'll meet with the parent and the kid with their report card, midterm grades. So I will go an extra step. Not many coaches do that. I really do care about the student as a whole. So I meet with them at least once or twice every 4 to 5 months, and I'll let the kids just go play. No coaching, go play. And I'll meet kids and families for 10 to 15 minutes on the side and go over kind of, hey, what's going on? What are you struggling in? Why are you struggling? And just talk about academics. Nothing on that day is worth soccer besides just playing street ball. They don't hear any coaching. It's an academic meeting where they meet with their coach, and I guide them. I try to direct them. I've called counselors before. I've assisted with getting tutors as well, and I've seen kids make it from a tough situation. So that's very important. That's a good point you brought up. But I think coaches can go an extra step by meeting with their kids at practice time. Some coaches might say, no, it's practice. I need a coach. Yeah, but guess what? If you want them to play at the next level, like I want my kids to do, it's very important to have those academic meetings.
Oh man, and when I was, I'm not at that junior high anymore. I'm at another junior high, but I got some talent over here at the junior high I'm at now. Because when I was at the first junior high, my brother was the PE coach. I was a math teacher. I did math for 6 years, but I would coach after school, right there at the school. The way we're set up here in Texas is, and I would always tell them out, and I would tell the guys, I'm like, look, man. All I know is I want to make sure you put me on will call so I can go watch your first professional game. And they give me a look like, what's will call? I'm like, that's when you're going to put my name on a list. I'm going to show up to the stadium and say, Rodolfo Mendez right there. And they just give me a smile like, I can't believe coach thinks I'm going to make it, to the MLS or the World Cup. Where I was like, just do me the favor, put me on will call, man. But let me elaborate on what I was talking to you before we started the show for those that are watching. We got the kid, super fast. We got Mozo. We talked about him. What's his real name? I always forget his name. His nickname is Mozo. But I'll get the name for you later. Or maybe somebody can put it on the chat box. And then we got the other kid, Jerry Reyes. Super fast, forward striker. I mean, just phenomenal, right? And he's getting some scene, or I don't know how. He's like, hey, coach, something about some heels. He didn't know that the North Carolina Tar Heels, who they were, and that might be an avenue that he could have pursued. I don't know what happened to that. If he's even still playing, I gotta follow up on him. But here's the deal for the viewers out there. You're listening to Michael ERush, my boy from LMU. He's got the club team. He's got these kids. He's a collegiate coach. I'm assuming most of your guys are very fluent in English, correct, ERush?
Where? College or club?
Yeah, both. Or what are we talking about
here?
Yeah.
Well, on the club level, yeah. And then on the collegiate level, we have a lot of kids from international different countries. So mostly Europe and Eastern Europe and Scandinavia. So
yeah, but by the time you get them, they already did their own high school in their country, right?
Correct.
In their native language.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve when I'm talking about these guys, and there's hundreds from all across. We call this place the Valley, the Rio Grande Valley. A lot of first generation, second generation. I mean, when I was here, my dad was first. I grew up speaking Spanish at home, right? So then there's this bilingual program, and I've seen it with my kids because I've had them in Montessori's. It cost me a good penny, but they're Spanish all day. They at home they watch TV in English. They speak to me and my wife in English. Everything is in English except when they're at school. So their native tongue is English, but at school it's Spanish. So then I start thinking with these kids that don't get the D1 looks. I'm thinking to myself, why aren't they getting the D1 look? I know what a soccer player looks like, a real good soccer player. Maybe not as technical as you, but I'm like, that kid should be D1, right? And all I'm asking for the viewers to understand, especially you parents out there, the STAR test and the grades that Coach ERush and most coaches look for, all those GPAs, it's all in English. So my thing is that some of these kids are at a disadvantage because they're being coddled into Spanish English until 6th grade, and it's like, boom, now you're supposed to know all this English, and now their self-esteem and academics is behind, and now they're playing catch-up, which I think is hindering our kids in the area, man. And that's why I'm reaching out to you. Hopefully some parents are watching. We need the kids in our area, the Rio Grande Valley, to get out of the Spanish bilingual stuff. They need to know English so they can be, in your case, meet the GPA, not just you, but across the nation, meet the GPA, because their talent is phenomenal. And I'm gonna have to get some of these guys. For example, let's say me. So, okay, ERush. Hey, ERush, I got this kid. How can I get you to look at him? What would you tell me?
During normal circumstances, not during COVID.
Yeah, normal circumstances.
Right?
A year ago.
Yeah. So I would say, hey, Rudy, do you have a highlight tape of him? Do you have some film of him? That's what I would always say, because again, at the D2 level, you don't have a budget where you can travel across. D1s can say, okay, I'll get on a plane, I'll go watch this kid play. So you're completely talking about two different levels. But I would say video. But before video, I would say, hey, Rudy, how are his grades? Does he have a 2.0? That's the minimum requirement.
So about when he was in high school or when he's at the JUCO level?
No, high school or JUCO level. At the JUCO level, you have to have your AA, associate's degree. So I would say, hey, does he have his AA degree? Then it makes it that much easier to transfer from a JUCO to a 4-year school. At the high school level, I'm gonna say, hey, how are his grades? Why am I gonna go recruit a kid when he's got a 1.6? When if he's no matter how good he is, I can't get him into school, nor can he be NCAA eligible. So I think for the viewers out there, they gotta know kind of there's a grading scale. Rudy, I think it's called the NCAA grading scale. High school student athletes need to learn it and say, hey, if I get a 2.0, I need this SAT. So there's a lot of things that go into a lot of guidance counselors will help you through this, but there's a lot of stuff that the NCAA, it's called, for the high school kids, it's called NCAA Eligibility Center. So they can Google that and kind of go through that. I'd be more than happy to connect with you and assist in the process as well.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that kid Mosso that I'm talking about, he was a sophomore. And the coach from UTRGV, D1. We have a university here about 30 minutes away. He comes, he's sitting there, right? And I'm like, hey, well, and I go talk to him. I'm like, hey, coach, how you doing? I was like, yeah, man, I really like that kid. I was like, oh yeah, I coached him. I coached him. And you know what the very first question that he asked me was? How is his grades? I was like,
it's automatic for us.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, it's like a cheat sheet for us coaches. Like, I'm gonna go and the reason why I'm gonna break it down is, let's say you give me his video. I'm like, oh wow, he's a good player, man. He definitely, let's recruit him. Okay, let's get him applied. Let's get him to go through the process, and then he shows me his transcripts, and it's a 1.8, 1.9. I'm like, man, it can't do nothing about it. So you spend so much time on that. So no matter what the question is hey, what's his GPA? That's the first thing. Okay, automatic. Number 2, guess what the question would be if I was talking to you?
What's his ACT, SAT, his character?
Testing. Good. Not how good he is. His ability would be like 3rd. I would say, how is he as a kid? How is his character? Yeah. That would be number 2. Obviously, number 3, then I'd be like, okay, checks the boxes. Maybe, let's see if I could get some video or some eyes on him to see the level of him. So that's really important, and I know we don't talk about social media, but I'm going to bring it up is, listen, coaches out there have social media. There's different coaches on staff with bigger programs and bigger budgets that have coaches specifically go see what kind of social media that kid is doing. If there's some red flags, names crossed off. Next, so I think social media is obviously at a different lifestyle than you and I grew up.
Yeah.
But it's got to be there's content and you got to be smart of what you put out. I mean, we hear this college football players, messing up and the Louisville soccer player, so it goes on and on. It's just a heads up to all the parents and the players out there to understand what it takes to make a college team. And with you guys, it's a unique scenario. You guys have a Division I school 30 minutes away. What I recommend every single player that really wants to go play, go watch them play. Go put yourself in, go sit in the stands and say, hey, I can play at this level. So we tell this to kids in here in Southern California. You think you can play for our school, come to our school, and then we could talk, have a conversation. And people are like, oh, wow, man, those guys are too good. Maybe it's not for me. Or you know what? I'm good enough. I'm going to show them what's up. I can play there. So that's really important for you guys in the Valley to understand that you do have a Division I school out there.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because if I'll tell you one thing, most of the guys that I'm talking about that I know, my group over there, they'll tell you, "Oh, I can play with you. I'm actually better than them." You know, that's the mindset, man. I mean, that's the mindset. So give me. I mean, you played pro ball, man. What is the grind like for these young athletes that are, my guys? What is the grind like for a collegiate and professional? Forget collegiate. Your grind as a professional athlete, man.
Well, I think it starts before that. You mentioned it. It's how you develop in the college game. So for me, for my personal story, it's quite unique. Okay, I'll share this. I don't share this many times, but I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in Southern California. And my freshman year, I was hanging out with gangs, believe it or not. And my parents immigrated, from Eastern Europe, and I just got into the wrong mix my freshman year of high school. I had C's, D's, skip class. And
wait, time out. So you, as a 12, 13-year-old, you didn't live here?
No. I lived in LA. I was born and raised in LA. My parents immigrated here before I was born.
Oh, I got you. My bad. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. So, what was I? Freshman, and that was 99, about 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. I went into high school thinking, I was on the national team. I think there was a ranking where I was a top 10 player. I was the local player of the year coming out of high school in 2 newspapers.
USA. You were in the USA team.
I was on the USA team, and I was the LA Times player of the year.
Yeah, bro.
So I was like, all right, got into high school, I thought I was God's gift, no problem. Started hanging around with the wrong people. And it went kind of downhill. Then I got out of the national team. And then from freshman to sophomore year is where my life changed. I got a recruiting letter from UCLA saying, hey,
the Bruins.
We think you're a very good player. You can play here. Obviously Ziggy Schmidt passed away a few years ago. But I got a letter. I still have it in my book that's what changed my life around. I transferred schools. I got out of that culture. I got out of that school. I went to a new school and kind of transformed my life. And that's how I ended up going to LMU. So that's how, but the story at LMU is, and how I got to the next level, like I started the show, is not what I did in college, but it's about what I did on my own. So you can train 2 hours with your college team, but what I did on my own, I never took a day off. If I had a class break for an hour or two, I'd be on our field doing stuff by myself. So, college kids have so many different things to do, but I really loved soccer and it's in my blood. So I would go train 7 a.m. and then I would have team practice at 10 a.m. If I had class in the morning, I'd go at 4 p.m. So I was that dedicated where I didn't take a day off at all to get better at my game. Everyone trains 2 hours. Let's just give or take 2 hours a day. Everyone has club practice. Everyone has high school, junior high practice. But what separates you is what you do on your off time. So I would pick 30 minutes. I try to do whatever I can, skill work, passing, shooting, somewhere before I would get to practice, because everyone is equal. But if you take 15, 20, 30 minutes on your own, let's just say 3 to 4 times a week, well, that's an extra hour or two that you're working on your own game. So that's what kind of got me to the next level. Like I said, if I didn't do that, there would be no way in chance I would be playing professional soccer. So it was that determination that I was doing my side workouts that got me over the hump and got me to the next level, and it was a dream of mine and a personal goal as a student athlete is I want to play professional soccer. This is what it takes. And that's what it took.
Man, I'm glad you say it, because if any of my athletes who are in the surrounding area hear it, we all talk about it. We preach, but when they hear a guy that was in the professional system, USA team, I mean, it goes to show you got to see, because this is the way we talk about it. So, for example, first period, at 8 in the morning, athletics. And I tell the guys, I said, look, all of you are going to work out during this period because it's my job to make sure you guys work out. You're in this class, you've got to work out or train or skill, whatever it is we're doing. And I tell them, how many of you woke up? And I tell them, how many of you woke up an hour early and did a little bit of your own time? How many of you after our practice, after school, still go home and put in another hour of whatever you're doing? And I tell them, it's just what you just said. It's the 2 hours of the day or 3 hours. It's what would you say is at least a minimum? 6 hours a day?
6 hours? No, I would say 3 hours. 3 hours a day.
Minimum.
On
your own.
On your on your own. I mean, there's only so much time in the day.
True.
You still got classwork and academic. You still got to do academics. So I say minimum 30 minutes, maximum to balance out the academics, probably no more than 30 to 2 hours. I think that's really hard to do, because then if they have other extracurricular activities where it's either family stuff, different stuff. So 30 minutes minimum.
And then, but at the collegiate level, it was you were working. Your spare time was soccer.
Right now, what do I do during my spare time with family? Soccer. I got TiVo. I got games recorded. I'm gonna watch soccer whenever I can. And that's just kind of my life. That's my life. Soccer, and more soccer. So I want to get better. I'm still a successful coach, but I want to get better. So that's my challenge to players: is if you're good, get better. If you're better, try to perfect it. And if you're going to be perfected, you're going to go play, and you're going to be playing at the big level.
Nice. Now,
I don't know. Rudy, do you know? Sorry to interrupt. Do you know there's a kid that I coached at LMU that is playing for Cruz Azul now?
No, I did not know that. Really?
Yeah. Rafa Baca from Inglewood.
Rafa Baca from Inglewood. Nice. Rafa
and he was our captain. And he'd be more than happy to be on your show too if I tell him kind of.
Yeah. We're gonna have to get him on here, because I'll tell you what though. A lot of our students follow the Mexican Soccer League,
that's why I brought it up.
I cannot watch Mexican soccer, bro. I just can't.
Why?
I don't know. I watch Spanish soccer. I watch EPL. Sometimes I watch France, Germany. And then I watch this Mexican soccer, and I'm like, man, I cannot watch this. It just, I get so frustrated. I'm like, dude, the pass is right there. And why don't you settle? Why are you clearing? And my little girl goes, Dad, she's 6 years old. She goes, Dad, why do you yell at the TV? They can't hear you, right? And I'm like, yes, yes, Mama, but
there's so much action in the Mexican league.
There is. I catch a few games. I'm a big America, Club America, but whatever. I get nailed.
I went to Club Azteca 4 or 5 years ago to watch Mexico versus USA.
Oh, nice. My uncle's been there. I can't get myself to go there. Remember when I was over there at LMU, I went to go to Ohio to watch that game. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I took my wife. Actually, we were dating at the time. I had just moved back. I don't know if I was in San Antonio at the time. And we went to go see the the Open, or what was it called? Oh.
The Open Cup? No.
The Gold Cup. The Gold Cup.
Gold Cup. Yeah.
We flew back to LA about a year or two. So I was still in San Antonio after I had left LMU, and we went back to watch the Gold Cup, visited LMU. I guess I didn't see you. I don't remember seeing you there, but she got to go see the Gold Cup. She's not a soccer person, but I was like, I want to go see USA versus Mexico,
That's
so
cool.
It gets into, so, okay, now that we're talking about USA, great transition. I guess there's two, and I'll get to the second one later. That's me and my brother and guys like me. But the first part is, what do kids need to do to be on the USA soccer team? How do to live the dream? How do they get to the dream?
Yeah, so there's different ways. Obviously, there's underprivileged communities. There's Alianza football. They do.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Say it again.
Alianza. So there's Alianza football. They go into different parts, and I think they pick players from underprivileged communities. That's kind of more for kind of communities that don't have high level soccer. Another way of getting it is by playing in different leagues that you have soccer scouts. I was a U.S. soccer scout for 6 years, and we go to these games. So you want to scout kids everywhere. So now with the Development Academy folding and the MLS league starting and the league called ECNL, there's a thing called ODP, Olympic Development Program. So I think that's another huge step. I'm also an ODP coach for the West region. Texas is in a different region. I believe it's region 2.
I need to talk to you about that because I would like to get certified in some stuff like that.
So Olympic Development Program has tryouts and scouts that come watch kids play. You have to be I don't want to say you have to be aggressive. You have to reach out to the state association, like Texas Youth Soccer Association, and say, listen, there's kids that don't play in these leagues, but I would really appreciate if you guys can come out and watch, us play either at the high school level or if there's a local team, which I'm sure there is. In the
we
Valley.
have plenty of them.
Yeah. So I would say reaching out to the Texas Youth Soccer Association would be your first thing, and trying to get scouts to scout kids for, it's called ODP, and it stands for Olympic Development Program, if kids are not playing at the highest level for club soccer. High school is harder because you don't have many scouts that scout high school games as well. The landscape has changed since we grew up, and high school is secondary.
Yeah. Okay, so let me get this straight just so people are listening. It's ODP, the Olympic
Development Program. I could send that to ODP.
No, I think my brother is already talking about sending his oldest. His oldest is 9, 6, 7, 8. I think he's 8 or 9, and it's over in Round Rock, Texas. We already know where it is. We already know where they have their practices, like once a month or every twice.
Yeah, so they have them. They call it like either market training or identification training,
right,
where they want to identify the best players to move it. So after you make your state, you go to your regionals. After your regionals, you go to your nationals, and then after nationals, that's when you get to the youth national teams. And obviously, that's kind of the steps to make the national team.
So we talked about ODP, and what was the other one you mentioned?
The leagues.
Oh, the leagues. The
leagues.
About the clubs.
Clubs, yeah. The leagues the clubs are playing are ECNL. There's a few teams in Texas, and there's also the new MLS league has a lot of teams as well. So those are the 2 highest leagues in the country. ECNL, Elite Club, National League, and then MLS has as a league that they are just starting up in the next couple months when we get back, when the pandemic's gone.
And when we talk about this, we're talking about what? 12, 13, 14-year-olds?
So they start, I think, about 12, 13-year-olds, and they go all the way to 18-year-olds. So basically through high school, and then the goal is obviously for American players to go play abroad in different countries. So college, unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, but you want your elite players to go play at elite levels, and European clubs can offer elite levels. College can offer high levels, but not what European clubs can offer you. So not to say, there's college kids like, there's a kid that played for Leeds United that scored against Liverpool that came from Wake Forest University. So you have opportunities. You have opportunities like that as well, but it's far and few within.
Right, but so then, I guess for parents out there, for example, me, let's just say this example, my son, 17-year-old, is gonna, he's in an Olympic developmental program or whatever it is. He's being seen by my MLS team or a European team. At that point, as parents, we have to understand our kid is not going to go to college because he's going to go play abroad.
Yes.
Is that part of the deal?
Yes. I would say it's 16, probably more like 16. 17 might be a little bit too old, but there's still opportunities for 17 and 18.
So by 16-year-olds, either you got it or you don't, for the most part.
I would say 75%.
75%.
Yeah.
75%.
Yep.
And at that point, hey, you know what? College is not going to be an option at this point.
Well, that means they just, maybe it's not for them. Maybe they just they want to go pro, and their academics is secondary. They can always come back and finish a degree if they really wanted to, but when they see the money and it's good money, academics is secondary.
So when we talk about MLS versus Europe, let's say I'm the parent and say, okay, you're 16 years old, MLS club is looking at you, but Europe is not looking at you. Do we pursue college or do we go MLS?
No, that's a great question. I always put myself as a father figure. If my son, like you're saying, if my son has a 16-year-old, and it also depends, is it a 1-year guaranteed contract? Is it a 2-year guaranteed contract? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? If it's $20,000 a year, probably not. But if it's 6 figures and and a good opportunity, absolutely.
Right.
If it's to Europe and you're in a good environment and it's, whatever, I think it's another good opportunity, So as a backup plan, if you're getting pursued by MLS or your European clubs, you're definitely one of the elite players, and you'll have that opportunity to play college as well if you really wanted to. So I
Right.
think it depends up to the family and the kid. If is it pro academics? Is academics, is that the priority, or is playing professionally the priority?
Yeah.
For me, when I grew up, it was a little bit different. I wanted to get a degree, and I also wanted to play pro. So I went to college, got my degree, and played professional. Now it's a little different because I was 21 years old when I went to go play pro. Well, now it's obviously 16 and 17 now. So the
Yeah.
times have changed, shifted.
So now you got to look like for that 16, 17-year-old, you already know that you're gonna make it to the pros
But
by that
before
time.
looking at that, I would say you have to start somewhere. And like a process like ODP or
Yeah.
Alianza, who go to underprivileged communities and try to find kids or have tryouts, I think I really recommend those two platforms to use.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look at Alianza because we're socially economic. Basically, all my soccer players are first generation, some second generation, but I mean these guys are just like you. They breathe, live soccer. Some might be a
Yeah,
little bit faster, but yeah,
I would reach out to them because they're fully funded, and they
really,
can help kids. They're fully funded and they help kids get to college. They have tutors for them. They get them into kind of the door in the college. And and here's the most important thing. We talked about showcases earlier.
yeah.
Alianza will fly kids out, let's say from Texas, from New York, from Florida, like the top Alianza kids that they've seen, and they'll
Mm,
invite them to a showcase in San Diego. They'll invite them
really?
to a turn, and they'll pay for all their accommodations.
Wow, that's good to know. See, I'm sure a lot of I didn't know. I don't know how many of my athletes' parents know, how many of the coaches in the area know, but now we know. Now we know. I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned that, ERush. Now, for the parents of the 3, 4, 5, 6 year old, how do we make it to the ODP or to the American team? Or because see, right now there's two main organizations here in the area. It's Houston Dynamo, and my kids play in that little league, but they're not old enough to be in the practice squad. And then there's FC Dallas. Do we go through that route, or what do you recommend for parents of
I mean,
those little
you're
ones?
talking about, but the little ones, I don't know if they have a program for those little
They
ones.
don't. But I'm saying
They
like
don't.
future, like in the future. What am I doing here in the future?
Future for well, I'll say you don't want to think about the future first. What I tell 3, 4, 5, and 6 year olds
Okay, good,
is
good.
to fall in love with the sport.
First, no
I
matter
don't
what.
want the parent, no matter what, let the
That's
kids
a great
figure out
point.
what they want. Let the kids what they want to do. I, as a young parent now with a 2 year old, I'm not going to force my daughter. As much as I don't like her not kicking a soccer ball every day, I'm not going to force her, and I'm not going to put a soccer ball in front of her if she doesn't want to kick it. So
Dude.
there's different ways. She comes to my practices. She sees me sets up cones. I see she watches my training. I turn on soccer on TV, hoping that she will understand that soccer is part of my life and she will
Yeah.
fall in love with it. That's my personal experience, But you want them to fall in love with it. And then for all the coaches, for yourself,
Mm.
is let the kids play like
Oh
street
man.
ball.
Yeah.
Like if you have, and this is crazy, but I read the data, I watch it, I see it. If you can put them in a basketball court with a small ball, put 2 goals, and let them run in a basketball and play soccer, not
Yeah.
outside on grass. Play street ball like they did in Brazil,
Right.
like the youth does. So basketball courts, street soccer, whatever it is, let them play. Let them figure it. They will make mistakes, but for the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds, there's not much coaching you need to do. Put a
Yeah.
ball, put 2 goals, and let them play.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. So I'm coaching my 3 year old daughter, right? And she's playing up, not because she's that great. It's just that there was not enough 3 year olds. So she's playing with 4 year olds, and she's scared. She's not running around. But I'm still doing I still got to coach the whole team, and right. And I got mommies coming into the field, and I'm like, Mom, like, hey, relax. Like she's 4 years old. Like they have all these high. I was like, and I met with the parents. I said, look, I'm a volunteer coach, but all I want is for them to run. As long as they run and chase the ball and have a good time, let's not worry about we're not gonna make the Olympics or the World Cup team in a week. As long as they're running, And I'll tell you what though, my wife with my first one, like the way you're talking about your 2 year old, when she wasn't I've come to terms with the fact that she's gonna be a fine arts, dance, theater, stuff like that.
Can't do anything about it.
No, but my son, on the other hand, he has some glimpses. But it's just one of those things where my wife freaked out when I wasn't being hooping and hollering with my first one. I said, I just need her to run. I really don't care. As long as she's running and playing, who cares, you know?
I work with once a week. I do a youth clinic for a community out here. And I got about what I would say about 12, 6, 7-year-olds. What do? I warm them up, put 2 goals, give them teams, go. I'll stop it once in a while with some coaching points. You know, like there's different things I would say just for them to understand it.
Yeah.
But again, it's about having fun. You want them to fall in love with the sport, because if they're not having fun, they're not going to make it past 12, 11 years old, you know, and then the parents get upset. It's like, oh, what happened to my kid? But I think that's important. If you kind of can start in an early age by throwing a ball and playing like in a basketball court, you know.
Man, you just opened a can of worms with me, because I was next summer, you know, hopefully everything goes back to normal. I was going to start, because I have my Mendezville sports training. I train kids. I did it this year for the first time in speed development, right? And then I was going to start taking my personal 3 to train my junior high kids in the summer, at least twice a week in the gym. So now I have even a better excuse to go. But let me tell you the story.
Basketball gym? You know why I say basketball gym? Basketball gym has walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can pass to the wall 1,000 times before they start playing and get their touches in.
Yeah.
You know, they can react off the wall. I know it's not realistic, but it gets them in an environment where they get so many touches on the ball, and it's fast. It's way faster than a bigger field and a grass field.
You know, it's funny you mentioned about touches. I was in a league that I did not like 2 summers ago, and I went up to the director. I said, "Man, you got a 6-on-6, 7-on-7 with 4-year-olds. It's not gonna work, man. Like we play." I said, "Next time you got to go through." He goes, "No, you're just trying to be competitive." I was like, "No, bro. Like you have to." Because they kind of knew my background. I'm like, I'm coming to you from all the research. I just want them to touch the ball. Like some kids are not being, they're not part of the game because they get distracted. You know, whatever. That's a lost cause. But when you talk about you watching soccer, and I had come to terms with my daughter, but my son, I was like, okay, he's still not into soccer. What am I gonna do? So I read something. I said, look, there's 2 things I read. Number 1, I did it. I said I just put 2 or 3 soccer balls in my living room area. So whenever he's walking around, he's like, he'll just kick it. And all of a sudden he's like, hey, let's play soccer. And number 2, you know what I did? When I did this, the boys, all of a sudden he's like, hey, I want to play soccer. I put this guy's highlights on YouTube on the big screen TV. Well, I mean, it's not that big, right? But it's big. And I started watching highlights. He goes, hey, and all of a sudden he just stopped and he just started watching. After that, I just said highlights once a week, 5 minutes. Ever since then, it worked.
Yep. That's all it takes. Like I said.
So, and now I watch soccer. We have a Champions League, and they see me watching soccer, so they know soccer is kind of important. So we'll see. Yep. Mike, ERush. I know you have that phone call. Want to give you a little break before you get in there, man. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, man.
Any questions?
This was a blast. Like I said, if there's any question, I mean, do you want to do Q&A for a few minutes, or they'll go through you? You'll reach out to me. How do you want to do it?
Yeah. Well, how about this? What other things do you think people out there should know?
Well, I think, again, like I told you, like to kind of recap, coaches, you want to challenge your players in an environment where they're getting better, and putting them into situations where they would do in a game. For the players, I'm a prime example of never taking a day off and committing to achieve your goals and dreams. For me, never took a day off, worked hard at it, and achieved my personal goals. I have personal, career goals now as a coach, and now as a director and a successful college coach. It takes a lot of work, but for different communities, I think it's a different approach, and I'd be more than happy to assist, or, you could use me as a reference. You could contact, me through Rudy and kind of ask for ideas and training ideas. But like I said, it's my passion. It's my hobby. It's an unbelievable sport, and you just got to be hungry, man. You got to be hungry. And if you're not hungry, then you'll just be kind of your average player, but if you want to excel, then put in a little extra work.
Well said, man. Parents, what else for parents? Last one.
So parents, I think, let your kids fail. Let them learn from their fails. Let them make mistakes. I know parents, obviously in Southern California, put a little pressure on their kids.
Oh, man.
patience is very key. And also, if there was two, I use the P letter, patience and positivity. Try to be a little more positive with your kids because it will go a long way. I use myself as an example earlier in the show. Is I was very negative and didn't get the results with my teams, didn't get results with my players, and learned the hard way. So now, over 15 years of coaching experience, it's about being patient and positive and taking those losses. Sometimes the best losses are better than some mediocre wins, in my opinion, because you learn so much more. So that's what I would tell parents as well.
No doubt, man. Hey, I'm 100% with you, man. I really appreciate your insight. I'm sure I'm going to try to have you here, or I'm going to have some of those guys on the show and maybe, shoot you some. I'm going to have to give you a call on some advice on the future and development of this stuff, but I really appreciate having you on, man.
No problem. And if you want to get a group of parents or players together, we could do a Zoom call and do it more interactive with Q&A. I have no problem doing that and helping the community out.
Sure. Really appreciate it, Mike. Have a good night, man.
Okay. See ya.
Later,
Take care, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoyed that. That's my friend, my buddy, pal, Mike ERush. Michael, we used to call him just ERush. Back when I was at LMU, that's where I met him. Big soccer guy. I forgot to share the story where, interesting story. He's when he was gonna get he's gonna make the show in MLS. He was gonna get subbed in. He was the last sub, and then the goalie got a cramp, and they had to put the goalie in instead of him. But that's a nice little interesting story. Of course, he says it a lot better than me. I should have started the show with that of where we go way back in the story that he shared. But either way, I hope parents, players out there, the one common thing, there's two things that we got to talk about here for those watching is, in summary, I've had a lot of college guys, coaches, even not coaches, but they all make college. They all make the show in college. Is the number one thing they talk about is grades. So I think at this point, we must understand grades. You got to make the grades. Which is why which I'm a big believer in, especially our first generation Hispanics, Spanish speaking at home. I'm a big believer in you need to stop the bilingual. With those guys, they're not going to D1 because they're having trouble with English. And I think if we as a community from Roma all the way to Bronzeville, we gotta understand what we're doing to these soccer players. We have to understand what we're doing to these soccer players. These soccer players are D1 material, but they can't make it because they're having trouble with the English language because we're coddling them with bilingual, dual, all the way to 5th grade. We need to stop doing that, school districts across the valley. We got to, especially, parents, if your guys are going to be amazing soccer players, get them out of that bilingual. Get them out of that dual. Start them. Pre-K, kinder, first, second. Hey, after 2nd grade, hey, borrele, all English for those of you that have soccer kids that are going to be great. They need to prepare for the GPAs, the grades, the readings, the math, the STAR test. They got to do it in English. Get them ready. Not till 6th grade. Don't wait till 6th grade. You go to your district, whichever district you're in, from Bronzeville all the way to Roma, Zapata, Laredo, whatever district you're in, you go tell that district, I want my son or daughter all English because they need to get ready for that GPA. They need to get ready for that STAR test, and they can't be starting in 6th grade. They can do it, but they start behind. That's one, academics. And two, everybody that's made it, man, it's all hard work. It's not just the 2 hours. It's the extra hour or two, or once you're in high school and you have good academics and you get it, you put in the time. Every guy I've had on this show that made it, put in the extra time, hours and hours, all the free time, they all sacrificed because they wanted to accomplish their dream. So we got to make sure that players and athletes out there, those are the two main things, the reoccurrence, grades, and the drive to commit to their dream. Well, that was our show for today. I'm sure I'm going to try to have him back, talk a little bit more after maybe people might have some questions that I watched the show. But before we leave you, just friendly reminder that this show today was brought to you by World Finance. Excuse me. When life throws unexpected expenses your way, World Finance is here to help. Whether it's medical bills, car repairs, or child care expenses, a personal installment or title loan can help you take control and get back to the good things in life. Get started by applying today at their Mission location at 1600 North Conway, Suite A, Mission, Texas. They can take applications by phone at 956-580-4533. Once again, 956-580-4533. Or you can visit their website at loansbyworld.com. They are accepting applications with matriculas, passport, or ITIN. You do not need to have a social to apply. All loans are subject to their usual credit underwriting policies. And of course, by 4Live Together Building People, the immune system company, by independent distributor Rodolfo Mendez. You can find Transfer Factor products at www.4live.com/Rudy Mendez. And of course, I mentioned Mendez Sports Training. There is my logo. I did that with students, and it's going to get bigger and bigger once we come back. I expect to train more kids in soccer, basketball, speed, a little bit of that, some track. Guys, you guys have a good night. Hopefully you enjoyed. Take it easy.